That's what I thought. So let's bounce right to the very interesting, controversial, kind of entertaining, wild weekend. You were there in person. Obviously, Blaney got the job done. I don't know if that was quite the talking point of the weekend.
It was Hamlin, I thought was going to be the guy to watch
before
that.
Well, and it was interesting because obviously Blaney ran a pretty masterclass race. He was pretty much just there the whole time. It seemed like he was doing a very good job. But the Byron, Bell, and then I guess Bubba incident that went on. Bell obviously rode the wall a little bit to try and pass. I believe it was Bubba, but it seemed like Bubba was letting him pass, and there was all this kind of controversy. And in the end, they gave it to Byron over Bell, even though the tiebreaker went to Bell. Way too much going on. What did you see? Did you like the call? Did you agree with it, with Bubba, with the wall ride? What did you see, Phil?
Well, before we get to that, I just want to point out what an incredible race it was for the bottom four.
Like you were saying, they had a good race, obviously. Elliott, Blaney obviously had a very good race. Hamlin and Larson, what did you see out of them?
Well, Hamlin started in the back. He had a stuck throttle in qualifying and wrecked his car.
Nice.
And they decided to fix his car. So he literally had to come from the back. He drove all the way up to the top five, never could really get to the lead. But he was up there contending all day. Larson was up front most of the day. He wasn't able to really lead much, but he was up there with Hamlin as well. Blaney was just kind of hanging out. I felt like I didn't know if he was going to be in a good spot there. One of the last restarts, 100 to go. He restarted like ninth, and I'm like, man, that's just too far back. I don't think he can do it. And Chase Elliott, he actually overcame a loose wheel on pit road. They had to go back around the right side and jack it up, but go back around. He came off pit road, was like towards the back of the field. He drove all the way back to the front from the halfway mark to about lap 400. About 150 laps, he drove up to the front. So they all were up there. It was really, really competitive, and then all this stuff happened at the end, and that's kind of what you were leading into.
Yeah, so then the end, obviously. So there was, again, Blaney ended up winning, so he locked his spot in, which was cool. Obviously, I think it's fun to have the opportunity to go back-to-back. I don't know if everyone wants that, but I think it's fun to see that opportunity. But the Byron and Bell situation, going into the weekend, if they tied, Bell was through. Now, I was trying to kind of follow along. Bubba is a Toyota car. Bell is a Toyota car, correct?
Yes.
So there's kind of a team aspect there. Not really, but kind of with having the same manufacturer.
Yeah.
So Bubba, what it seemed like, was like laying off the throttle, which I guess is not allowed. Bell whacked the wall, of course. He gunned it to try to get around him. Probably went too fast. Probably didn't need to go that fast, but hit the wall. Probably, again, could have taken his foot off the gas and bounced off the wall, but he just ripped around the wall like Ross Chastain did, which now is against the rules for safety reasons, which is fair. They ended up realizing that was a penalty or whatever and moved him back, giving Byron the chance to win his first. Why and what did you see? Did you like the call? Did you think Bubba was being dumb? What did you see?
The real story, if you listen to his in-car radio, is that he literally...
Who is he?
Bubba Wallace.
Okay.
Bubba Wallace claimed that he had a tire going down and was kind of hobbling around for 3 to 4 laps. And let's just make a straight point here, just in my opinion. If you have a tire going down, you're not going to make it around the track 3 or 4 times.
Sure.
So even in Martinsville, you're not going to do that. The tire's going to rip apart. You're going to have to come to pit road. So on his radio, you could hear him say that he thought he had a tire going down and he was just going to nurse it home. And you don't slow down as much as he did on the straightaway in the last corner. I mean, Bell just like Bell
was flying.
He knew he was tied with Byron. Like, he knew he was tied and he had to make this pass. And he just went in the corner so hard. Like, reminded me of Chastain, but Chastain started in the wall, but he started like on the inside groove and just ran over Bubba Wallace's nose and like got into the fence, like you said, and rode it. And I mean, what do you do when you get to that position? Like, you're in the wall, you're not just going to lift. Yeah. But after hearing the radio transmission of what Bubba Wallace was doing and how Bell even got to him, was the why that it pretty much got outlawed, and Byron was able to move on.
So the officials were looking at it saying, manufacturers, you can't be doing that. You know, Bubba, you either need to go into the pits and pit out or whatever and make it a different strategy. You can't just be going 5 miles an hour down Main Street trying to let someone else pass.
The rule book says you cannot manipulate the race in any way, and he clearly manipulated it after listening to his.
So then what if Bubba was to just pit and making that be like, oh, we're going to pit and that's going to, oh, we have to change our transmission, you know, I don't know, whatever. They got to do something crazy and they claim that there's an issue and they're looking for an issue. Is that I mean, obviously, yes. Is that still cheating or whatever you want to call it? It's against the rules. Yes. But would that have been a better way to probably do it? Yeah.
Especially if you have a flat tire. If you have a flat tire and you want to be passed, just go to pit road. Like you said, that's actually a good idea. Actually, I didn't even think about that.
Oh, well, look at me. I'm learning NASCAR.
NASCAR guy.
He has a Ford shirt on, so don't come after me. So obviously now, like we said, that locks in Logano, Reddick, and Blaney officially going into that into everyone waiting. Everyone's watching Blaney celebrate, but everyone's still kind of sitting there going, hold up.
Number 4.
Yeah, who's got, like, not to take it away from Blaney. Blaney ran a very good race. He did a very good job. He won. He's in, whatever. But I don't feel like that was the storyline at all from watching the end of it to me was, does Chris rebel or does Byron get in?
Yeah.
What's going on with Bubba? All this other stuff kind of overshadowed the great race that Blaney ran, and he was able to get in. So now don't tell me that it's against the rules of what it is. Do you like the call?
I do, because it literally says you cannot ride the wall.
Okay, that's fair. Because I agree. I
didn't like how that went down. There's also more. I mean, Byron kind of wasn't as not as guilty as well. Mm-hmm. There was 2 Chevrolet teammates who it was a Ross
whatever,
and Dylan. They were riding like side by side behind him, like really slow, trying to hold up any car that was like coming towards Byron. Mm-hmm. In the last couple of clearly see it on their radio transmissions. They were talking about it. So what happens is Bubba Wallace and Austin Dillon and Ross Chastain's crew chief, a team executive, and the spotter all got suspended for Phoenix this week.
That's what you're saying. So now, how does that work? Do they just have another like spotter and stuff? I was going to ask you that as well, because they just have to find someone else. Yeah,
they're going to have to. That's crazy. They also got the owner and the driver got $100,000 each, and 50 points championship for all 3 cars,
which
as well.
Doesn't really do a lot, right? I mean, it does, but it doesn't.
No, it doesn't really mean nothing. I mean, at the end of the year, they pay out based on how you finish in points, so maybe they'll lose some money by losing those 50 points.
Sure.
But, it was big fines. Like, NASCAR is not messing around with this kind of stuff. It's not. They're not going to let. But people keep blaming this on the format. The format is you got to win, you got to beat certain points. There's been a lot of debate over this format lately.
Well, and I think that, and I agree, and I think that if you look at the format,
it keeps it interesting. Though.
It keeps it interesting, but it also does.
It makes it a real playoff.
It does spark this kind of issue. Like, I get it. Riding the wall is dangerous for the fans. It's dangerous. I get it. But it's like...
It kind of forces the hand.
Yeah,
though.
It's like, what, and you look at it too, and it's like, hey, if Christopher Bell gets away with it, and it works, okay, cool. Like, sorry, I went too fast into the corner, and I couldn't get off the wall. What do you want me to do? And so it does spark the controversy, which I think, like, people always say, like, any publicity is good publicity, and NASCAR is getting a good chunk of it right now because of all these decisions and stuff. Now, I think a lot of people hate it because, like anything, you don't want to sit and be like, all right, ref, make the call, and you got to go to the booth, and they sit there for 20 minutes, and then they're like, I don't know, and they're talking to someone in New York, and everything's going on. They just want the call to be made. NASCAR did a pretty good job. It didn't take very long for them to be like, we're going to make, it was 5-10 minutes. It wasn't like a crazy long time. I also think they took a little bit more time because it kind of determined who's going into the championship compared to like if it was just a regular race at Kansas, and they're like, yeah, we're just going to discuss it. Okay, yeah, he rolled the wall, he's out. Like, it would have been that quick. But I don't think the format should have anything to do with it. I think this format's kind of fun, and I don't even follow NASCAR. And I'm like, this is kind of interesting to where it's like, everyone still has a legitimate shot, because if you just win, you're in. And if you are still 27 points behind, there is that opportunity that you can still get in there one way or another. So I think it's kind of fun. I obviously don't know the original format, but
The chase.
yeah, I don't know if they.
Yeah, it changed. It changed very multiple times. But I tell people all the time, what people were upset about is that Kyle Larson has dominated this year. I mean, he's won 6 races.
Yeah, he's not in it.
He should be in it for the championship. And there's scenarios where people say that, hey, he should have done this, should have done that. Every sport, even before we had this format, NASCAR was the only sport that didn't have a playoff format.
Yep.
So think about it. Think about your favorite football. Pretend the Seahawks are the number 1 seed.
Yeah.
They've had a great. They get to the number 1 seed and they lose in the first round to whatever, the 6th seed. Okay. Yeah. The regular season, it matters to get in, but every team in a playoff race in any sport has to perform in playoffs.
Yeah, that one seed can lose. Mm-hmm.
It's about performing in the playoffs, and this format do that.
Yeah,
and that's what makes it good, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I agree, because I think it does change. Like again, it gives you that idea of, like you said. I think you've said if you win in the regular season, you're in the playoffs. Correct. Yeah. Pretty much.
So, I heard a theory that it sounded pretty good to me. So they said the top 4. If you finish the top 4 in points, I really, really like this idea, and I hope more people hear it. So this is what I'm going to tell you. So the first, if you win the regular season, you should have an automatic berth to the championship 4, no matter what.
Okay, if you win the regular, that, but I'm okay with it. Keep going. Keep going.
Hold on. So second place would get an automatic bid to the round of 8. Third place would get an automatic bid to the round of 12. Fourth place would get you in. Maybe it's a little edgy, but it's interesting.
I think it's an interesting take. I think it'd be more fun if it was like you get to go into, like, the 1 seed gets to go into the first round plus 20 points.
Well, they already do.
Yeah, but I mean, like, even further or something. Because I feel like if you, like, I don't feel like you should allow someone to ever go to that. It's like, oh, the Kansas City Chiefs went undefeated. They're in the Super Bowl. I'm like, I get what you're saying. But I think that there should be still some sort of, like you said, you got to perform in the playoffs. Like, the 1 seed can't lose, and that does suck. Kyle Larson has been probably the best driver this year, like, hands down. And he did not perform when he needed to. Ryan Blaney had a pretty solid year. His playoff run was kind of mediocre, it seemed like, and he pulled through at the end to make sure he's in the championship. He raced a great race at Martinsville. So it's like, I don't think you should be allowed maybe a bid, but maybe like the top 2, they get a bye from one round. But I also kind of like where it's like Kyle Larson, if you have a bad first round and you crash a couple times, you're done. Sorry, sucks to be you. Don't crash. Be a better driver. But
I just interesting. I'm not saying
it is a very interesting take. Really I agree, because you look at most other sports nowadays too, and it's like you have the wild card series, and then you have the 1 and 2 seeds do have a bye. I agree with you. A bye would be cool, but I don't think it should be like as deep as the championship. But I agree. Yeah.
Again, like I said, I'm just giving you what I had heard.
An idea.
I thought it was interesting. I think realistically that the top 2 should get a bye into the round of 12.
That would be okay. I would agree with that. Maybe that'd be more fun.
That's where I'm at.
Yeah.
So,
and I agree, and I think because you have to make sure that there is some sort of real incentive to going for the regular season championship. Because again, if you don't have an incentive, like I get you get incentives with the points going into the playoffs and stuff, but there is an incentive to be like, hey, you actually get a bye. That's pretty big. Like, hey, we can really fine tune this car and really see what we want to do on these. We can test a couple things at these, these first 3 or 4 races in the round. We don't have to win, blah, blah, blah. I think that could be interesting. I think that'd be fun. I could agree, but who knows? I think what they're doing right now is actually really fun, and I didn't even think about that. Like, I didn't think about the fact that Kyle Larson is like he's out and he's literally
the best driver,
been the best driver this year. And I didn't even process that these 4 drivers in are probably not the most, whatever you want to say. They were the best. They were the top 5 drivers this year. I don't know where they all finished in driving points in the standings this year, but like, were they all even in there?
They were up close. They're all pretty good drivers because Reddick obviously won. And then Byron was pretty up there for the most of the year. And then I can't remember.
Think about it. And you say that this format's a little weird. So, literally, if you win a Daytona 500, you're in the playoffs.
Yeah, which is funny. That's weird.
The very first race, and you're in the playoffs. So it's like, it is a little out there, but it encourages winning and winning.
That's what I like.
People will do crazy things to win a race, especially in the playoffs.
So literally the top 5, they're the only one that's from the top 5 is Byron, and then literally 5, 6, and 7 is Byron, Reddick, Blaney, and then who's the last one? Logano was 14. So literally the top 4 is Larson, Elliott, Bell, and Hamlin, and they're not even in it, which is crazy.
Reddick was the
champion.
Yeah, he was the regular.
This says season driver and team standings, I guess.
Yeah,
he's in the 4. So,
oh well, maybe he was. It doesn't say it on this. It says he had 1071 points, and everyone else had more than him. But sure,
who knows? Thanks for listening to the Kinda Athletic podcast. Please like and subscribe to all our social media platforms, and make sure to come back next week to hear more from the Kinda Athletic podcast.